to mark a new beginning. We are the ones of the spoken word. We are the ones who keep the planet spinning. Yeah, yes, one day we will rule the world.
Hey guys, I'm Si and welcome to AC Podcast Nation, the home of the Andy Campbell football show Euro 2020. This is episode number 14. It is the final episode in the series. The Euros are over officially. And what a tournament, what an emotional roller coaster of a few weeks. So much has gone on from the group stages all the way up till 10:30, 11 o'clock last night. It was just stuff you couldn't take your eyes off. But we got lots to talk about. We are, of course, live on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Ace Podcast Nation, as usual, home to many great shows and series featuring top guests, expert analysts and more. So please give us a follow on social media. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Click the bell for notifications. And the audio versions are all your favourite podcast and radio platforms. Just follow Ace Podcast Nation for the time being. And there's over 460 shows on a variety of subjects. And, of course, a big thank you goes out to Black Diamond Sports for all their support around the series, the channel, everything in between. They're a global sports agency which represents sports stars from around the world. For more information, you can visit their social media pages as well as their website, the links to which are in the description below. Of course, today's sponsor, as ever, Bespoke Financial, and particularly Darren Ralston of Bespoke Financial. He's given away a free will with £140 cash with any new policy which is taken out. All you've got to do, give him a call, check out what is an incredible offer, tell him that we sent you, and away you go. If you take out a service which they offer, you get £140 cash. What is not to like? But of course, joining me as ever, first and foremost, I have via satellite still is my buddy, co-host, the goal collector, former England under-21s striker, Cardiff and Middlesbrough hero, Mr. Andy Campbell. How are you, my friend?
Evening. I'm a little bit more calm than I was about this time yesterday. I'm still a little bit down, a little bit gutted, like probably every English person should be. Super proud of what happened. And yeah, looking forward to chatting about it, to be honest.
Yes, I think there's plenty to say. I think, as usual, me and you disagree already on a couple of things, but that's what makes it fun, is the opinions and the views of us and the people. But, of course, joining us for the final time, at least for the time being, is Ex Salford City winger, Mr. Rhodri Giggs. Welcome, buddy. How are you?
Yeah, pal, you all right?
Yes, mate, yes. Nice. I'm really glad to have had you join us over the last couple of weeks. It's been good stuff, and I know the people have been really enjoyed listening to your views on everything. So I'm gonna start differently today. Instead of throwing to Andy first, I'm gonna throw to you. How have you enjoyed just the tournament as a whole? Like, have you enjoyed it? Has it underperformed, overperformed? How have you felt about it?
No, I've enjoyed it really. It's been some good football. There's some bits of surprises, but no, there's been some good games as well, especially in the latter stages, which you'd probably expect. It took a little bit to get into, as all tournaments do. But once it got going, it was a good watch. And like Andy, even though I'm Welsh, it was a disappointing start, disappointing end. Because England looked really comfortable in the first 30 minutes, and you think this could be a walk away, and then actually have obviously turned it around, which with a stellar team they are, and gone on to win it. Well, it's a lottery with pens, but we'll go on to talk about that in a bit.
Indeed, mate. Yeah, I thought one thing Italy did well was they changed their tactics to nullify what England were doing well in that first 30 minutes, but which we'll, like I say, we'll talk about that in just a second. But Andy, overall thoughts, mate, of the tournament, just generally?
I think it's been excellent. I think just from the home nations alone, that obviously Wales got out of the group when they probably didn't expect to. I think Scotland give themselves a chance, but the players probably put themselves in a good position individually, and showed how good they can be on the day. But obviously didn't get over the line, but did themselves proud in their own ground and at Wembley. And I think England did excellently well, but just couldn't get over the final hurdle. But listen, I think overall, I think it's been a success. I probably wouldn't have it over the world or over Europe again. I think for me it's got to be based in at least one country, if not spread around across two, just so that it's less travelling. It'll probably stop all the arguments and bickering about travelling this and travelling that. But I think overall, it needed probably to give it a go and see if it worked. I think it did work, but I don't think you can probably do it again for probably at least another 20 years or so.
Yeah, like I understand the reasoning, even before COVID. I understand the reasoning, and on paper, it is a kind of good idea, nice way to commemorate an anniversary of the tournament and all that. But ultimately, it didn't work, and they need to go back to the sort of one nation hosting it. But I think, look, the tournament as a whole was pretty damn good. Saw some sensational goals, some sensational moments. Obviously, at one point, you had the unexpected health scare with Christian Eriksen, which, for Denmark to recover from that and losing their first two games, to not only get out of the group stage, but then go on to reach the semi-finals and give England the tremendous game. And it's just, there were so many different stories for different teams, different things going on. I really enjoyed it. I felt like every team contributed in their own way. And I include even, who did we say was the worst team? And Turkey, wasn't it? I think with a sweepstake winner.
Yeah, they didn't contribute.
Even they contributed to what was a really enjoyable tournament. They gave Wales the worst. They
contributed to the goals against, didn't they? They contributed to loads of goals. So that's how they contributed.
Oh, yes, they did. So I tell you what, mate, Andy, as the Englishman, I will let you choose. Do you want to talk about the final and then finish off with team of the year, team of the tournament, and all young player of the tournament, or do you want to talk the team of the tournament and everything first, and go into the final in detail for the sort of second half of the show? I will let you choose.
I think we'll talk about the game. I think the game was obviously the main focal point, and then because then we might be able to talk about individuals who played in that game or didn't play in that game, who will be our players. I think it's probably right that we cover the game.
Yeah, good shout, mate. So what I'm going to do, I'll give my quick overall thoughts, and then I'll pass to you two guys, because I want to hear from you guys more than I want to talk myself. But ultimately, I thought England started sensationally well. I thought they were really good. Italy looked shell-shocked after the goal. It took them a bit of time to just start knocking the ball around and settle. They didn't expect England, I don't think, to be so, not necessarily attacking, but just get down their wings so easily. They were getting down both sides really, really quite easily, a couple of passes. But what Italy did exceptionally well is they changed their tactics. Their fullbacks dropped deep. And I think they changed one of the midfielders just after half time. And that changed the game completely because England's success of getting down into the fullback areas was non-existent. Unfortunately, one of my players of the tournament, in Raheem Sterling, probably had his, I wouldn't say poorest game of the tournament, but he wasn't able to get into the similar situations that he has throughout the tournament in pretty much every game. Look, overall, I thought Italy were the best team in the tournament, so it's fitting that they should win. However, I went into the game not really minding either way who won. I was happy if England won for you. I was happy if Italy won because I'm not English. However, by the end of it, me, my father-in-law, my son, we all kind of wanted England to win because I was looking at those young guys taking penalties and I was like, this is going to be brutal if they miss those. Italy should have had a red card. And I just said to you guys off air, but I'll just say now, I thought Gareth Southgate made his first mistake of the tournament in extra time, where I felt like Italy were there for the taking a little bit because they're an aging team at the back and England have got that depth we've talked about. And I felt like that was the time to unleash them at the start of extra time or even half-time extra time and really see if they could do some damage on the break and use that pace. Wasn't to be. It's penalties is a lottery. It's a big ask. And lastly, I thought Harry Kane should have taken the fifth penalty and Saka should have taken the first because he's a kid and he's a captain. But apart from that, enjoyable game. Right, let's throw to the professionals. What did you make of the game overall, Andy? Like just the general performance.
The game overall was as a whole was probably better than I thought. You know what I mean? I don't think anybody went in it with any nerves. I think England started absolutely amazingly well. I watched the build up and when the team was sneaking out that Gareth was going to change his tactics and go back to a back three. Obviously he's done it before against Germany and Italy came out and said they were ready for it. They practiced on different formations. Well, the way Italy started for the first 20, 30 minutes, that was a lie because they just couldn't handle what England had. They couldn't handle the fullbacks bombing on. The right fullback Trippier to the left fullback Luke Shaw for the goal. Harry Kane was phenomenal, coming short, dropping deep, getting in the pockets. And Chiellini, Bonucci couldn't cope with coming short. They didn't want to go short. Every time they did, they were bringing him down and fouling him. Sterling was getting loads of joy. And then for whatever reason, obviously Italy were always going to get back in the game a little bit in the first half. But it was the second half for me. England didn't start at all second half. They were giving a few chances away, giving a few corners away. And then the goal happened. Listen, Jordan Pickford, absolutely unbelievable save and very unlucky. But from the Italians' point of view, the desire to win the first header, the desire to win the second header, the desire to get in front of people is just second to none. You just said they're in back four, back two. They had more desire individually than probably every other player on the pitch. You know what I mean? They were as a team because they were just phenomenal. You know what I mean? They don't give any space. We don't know about Sterling and Harry Kane having poor games, but for me, you've got to give credit to those two. You know what I mean? They're clever at what they do. You know, they give tactical fouls away when they need to. Everyone complaining on social media about cheating, red card, about pulling back. It's just
not a red card.
Very clever one. It's a yellow card. It's 100% a yellow card, and he got a yellow card for it, and that's the end of it. You know what I mean?
It's just clever.
I will second your opinion on Jorginho. I thought Jorginho's tackle was awful, and I thought it was probably one of the worst tackles in the tournament so far, and I can't believe it didn't go to VAR. I don't want to see anyone sent off. You know what I mean? I'm glad he did stay on because it gave him an opportunity to miss a penalty because he's got 100 records, so now he hasn't. But I think as a tackle goal though, that was a little bit naughty. That, and I think with him coming back to the Premier League, I do hope that people don't remember it for what it was. You know what I mean? And they do let it lie and let it carry on a little bit. Because I know what English fans are like. They can hold a grudge a little bit, and they might give people a little bit of stick. But it was naughty, and I do just wish the referee had dealt with it. Penalties. Listen, I always said, Si, and I said to you before previously last week or so, my dream is to see England in a major final. I accomplished that. I said to my missus yesterday morning, I'd love England to score in a major final. I accomplished that. You know what I mean? I was ticking my little tick boxes off, and to get them the same win, I'll have to wait another 4 years or 2 years or whatever. You know what I mean? Then I'll go on. Hopefully, I'll get to do it one day. But for me, it was a dream come true, and yes, gutted, but proud that I got an opportunity to see them.
Yeah, I think that's a good assessment. I like it, mate. And I think ultimately, just before I pass to Rhodri for his views, like England got to the semi-final of the World Cup. They've got to the final of the Euros. That's improvement. If they go in that one step further in the World Cup and the improvement continues, then they're going to win it. So I know it's a different tournament, different teams, but that's improvement, isn't it?
No, well, someone on Sky today said the tournament previously before the 2018 was third, second. Obviously, your progression next is first. So, listen, you put your players under pressure, you put the manager under pressure. But in Qatar, it'll be interesting, it'll be fun. The world best will be there. So England can join whoever else comes to the party.
100%. Rhodri, what did you make of the final, Italy's performance, England?
Yeah, it was, like I said before, it was a good start by England. It's probably one of them rare games that you start and you start very well, and as a player, you probably come off the pitch after penalties and think, how have we lost that? Because they started really, really well. There was control in the game. They looked comfortable. Italy looked all over the place. But credit to Italy, and Mancini's obviously got them in at half time and corrected that. And then England struggled the second half, but then, I agree with you. They had the firepower to change it and bring on the players earlier. You're giving players 5 minutes, you're giving Grealish 15, 20 minutes. Pretty sure you could have given him 30 minutes. He's probably thinking, do I want to bring Sterling off though? Because we've seen Sterling 120 minutes running the full length of the pitch, and so he's still got the energy to want to bring him off with his goals he scored. But it's just in all it is in hindsight now, and it's a final, anything can happen, and especially when it goes to penalties, it's just a 50-50, which it was before the game, and it's just unlucky. And it's a step forward from last tournament, and it's just a shame. But you've got to look at the positives. All the players that have played, the young players, they're all going to be there next year. They're all going to be there in 4 years' time. The majority are. You're probably going to have sprinkles of players coming in as well. Not Grealish, probably Greenwood could probably get into that squad, and probably a couple others that will probably strengthen it. So it's only positive. It's just disappointing that they get beat on penalties, and the quality of players that miss the penalties. It's just purely pressure. It's just pure pressure because the penalties weren't great. He's a big keeper, and it's just unfortunate, really.
Yeah, I actually.
You just said there. Sorry, Si.
Yeah,
sorry.
Right.
I just want to focus on penalties a little bit, and obviously you as an ex-player, tell people what's the pressure like taking a penalty. You know what I mean? Because I know myself, my record probably is not great. I looked at Harry Kane against Denmark. He changed his run up. He put his run up back on yesterday, and you could tell straight away from his quick steps, his run up, he was going to score. He had that confidence, he had that buzz about him. But other players didn't look so confident. So why is it?
It's just purely the occasion. That is pure. No, I've missed the penalty early on in my career. I was playing for Salford, and it was at Oldham Athletics ground in the final, and I got a penalty in early on, and I missed it, and we ended up getting beat 2-1. That made me I never missed a penalty ever again. That's because I just didn't want that feeling. I just obviously wasn't concentrated. It was a poor penalty. I didn't pick my spot. I changed my mind. So, and I've gone on to take penalties with like 100 people there. You can't feel your legs. It's just a weird feeling. And to be in Wembley, millions of people, it's just unimaginable to me. Because I was literally, my legs were shaking with 100 people. Yes, I went on to score probably about 12 or 30 more penalties, but never in that kind of pressure. It's different in a penalty shootout. I only had 2. And the nerves, there's only 100 people there. I don't know what I'm nervous about. Just pick your spot and take. But it's just weird. You can't describe it. So to be in that kind of environment, it's just so hard. It's just difficult.
And then on top of that, though, Si, I look at Donnarumma and I think, how on earth do you see a gap? Because when he dives one way, his legs are still in the middle of the goal. You know what I mean? So you've only got a third of left of the goal to aim at. You know what I mean? I looked at Pickford when the 2 goalkeepers were embracing each other before, and the sizable difference in between them was massive. And I just thought, as a player, does that play mind games with you? Does it play mind games that you've seen him saving
Well,
penalties
Andy,
in the
it's going to
tournament
when you've been practicing and you looking at Jordan Pickford, and then you come to the real thing and you look at Donnarumma.
Yeah, agree.
That's got to be visually thinking, shit, that's different.
So how do you then replicate it? Then do you get a different goalkeeper in for training to replicate it? Someone the same size, the same stature. You know what I mean? That we're all talking here about replicating things, replicating tactics, replicating formations, replicating penalties, doing the walk up, having the crowd noise, having the focus. You know what I mean? But you've still got to focus on the goalkeepers in goal, and you've still got to focus on which. You know what I mean? For me, I watched it on BBC One, and I listened to the commentators. It said hard and low, and Harry Kane's hard and low, bottom left hand corner. Harry Kane's top right hand corner broke the camera. But the other, obviously Rashford's went wide. The other two were goalkeeper's height. You know what I mean? So there weren't bad penalties if the keeper goes the wrong way. But if he goes the right way, he's going to parry them out. He probably could have caught them both, to be fair. But he doesn't need to. He just needs to get stopped and going in the net. But Harry Kane was never going to miss the way that he set up and smashed his foot through it. Harry Maguire's, it was a penalty of the day. It was the best one of the lot. And it wasn't just because it passed the camera. It was just that he just wanted to hit it as hard as he could. And you know what I mean? For me, could a few more of the experienced players, I'm not saying about it, but I think to take the pressure off the young players, could they have just put their foot through it and just hope for the best, because just to help the young lads out, you know what I mean? Because they'll get another opportunity. And my only concern is what we talked about there is, and I'm all for the young guy, the way, you know what I mean? They're absolutely heroes now for me that have stood up for the country and put their name forward to do it. But in Qatar, in a year and a half's time, quarter-final of the World Cup against Argentina, will they want to step up? I hope they will, but you know what I mean. Part of me now thinks it'll still be in their mind and their mindset. You know what I mean, because it'll still hurt. You know what I mean. I look at Stuart Pearce from 1990 to 96. He had 6 years to put that demon to bed, and you know what I mean. And the celebrations after he scored against Spain were just magical. But 6 years is a long time. You know what I mean. For a player to go through those kind of demons, Gareth Southgate's been on it since 1996. And he's come back to haunt him again, you know. So it's sometimes it's not fair, but you know what I mean. For me, overall, Italy were the best team in the tournament. I didn't name them at the start, but I named them after the first game. I thought they were that good. For me, they edged the game a little bit, not too much in the probably especially over the 120. So for me, I've got no qualms that they beat England.
Yeah, I thought Italy were better tactically. I think that's the only difference between the two teams.
In the second half. In the second half,
you say that England, Southgate's actually done.
Yeah, he's been superb all the way through the tournament.
I believe how well they were playing. I was thinking this is going to be easy, but obviously, Italy just showed that what a great team now by adapting and overcoming it and winning the game ultimately.
But I go on.
Sorry, about the subs. You know what I mean? You're talking about England's strength and depth. I thought Mancini made some monumental subs. I thought bringing off Immobile was a big call. You know what I mean? You big calls when you've got your best centre forward. You know what I mean? You're bringing off other big players and bringing on lesser names. But those players, I mean, they ran through a brick wall for the country. You know what I mean? They showed guts and desire. They caused England more problems in the last half an hour of the game than the better players did. You know what I mean? So I've got no issues. You know what I mean? The best team won, and hopefully, you know what I mean. England can go to the next level again. But Chiesa for me, world class. You know what I mean? He's got a 100% future ahead of him. He's a very good player. He just complements the way that they play. You know what I mean? People say about England playing very defensive, very negative, having defensive midfielders. Italy played just as defensive, if not more defensive than England did. They had the back four, which is very, very deep, and got up. But they had three defensive midfielders, and you have the three attackers who go and attack and win the games. You know what I mean? The left back gets forward, the right back tucks in. It's the same as what England do. England plays exactly the same way.
And that's what I mean. I think tactically, Southgate's been spot on in every game. I just felt that England's depth, particularly those players like Rashford, Sancho, they're pretty fresh. Like, you had the chance to change the game going into extra time or half-time extra time. And I just felt for whatever reason, he didn't want to lose the game. And I felt like the game was there for him to go and win. And that's, you know, it's easy with hindsight, of course, and it's a big pressure situation. Everything's riding on it. Is it better to make sure you don't concede, and then if you can pull something off? But those players like they're top players, and giving them 30 seconds to if Rashford and Sancho score their penalties, by the way, it looks like an absolute masterstroke to bring them on for Henderson and the other guy for 30 seconds, because what was it, years ago when they was it Holland changed their keeper for penalties. If you do make those decisions, you make those decisions for the penalty shootouts. If they come off, you look like a genius. If they don't come off, then questions are asked. But I've been beating the drum since before the tournament. I felt England's depth was what was going to be the difference, and I just felt they didn't utilise it in extra time. That would be my only qualm. Apart from that, I thought it was an enjoyable game. I thought Italy tactically, Mancini was superb all the way through the tournament. Just on that, we're gonna give our team of the year, team of the tournament and stuff in a minute. But from a coaching point of view, looking at the tournament overall, which coaches have kind of stood out for you, or maybe made a bit more of a name for themselves, or impressed you with their tactics or the way they've gone about things? Rhodri, we'll start with you, mate. Any coaches from all the different teams which have stood out for you?
Well, you've got to say Southgate and his coaching staff. How they've gone about business. You see how he's talk about his assistant. So you've got to have that support staff, and I think the Denmark coach as well. How he's handled it through the first game and all the stuff that he would have gone through. So and obviously Mancini and winning it, and Luca Vialli and Lombardi and his staff as well. That they obviously won it, and
of course. Vialli obviously has been ill as well. So for him to be able to battle that, come through that, and then be a part of the backroom staff with Italy and win the tournament is, that's a sensational story for a legend of the game. But on the Danish coach, I think the Danish coach and the backroom staff to go through what they went through, and like I mentioned earlier, to get through the group stage and to do everything they did and keep the squad together and focused is tremendous stuff. Southgate's been superb. Mancini is just how to get. I don't remember, should I say, in my lifetime of seeing an Italian team as together as this Italian team. It might be lacking the big superstar names of past years, but they look like they would run through a brick wall for any, each of them and all of them.
That's down to the you don't not get beat for 30 odd games. That's down to the coach and all his hard work on the training pitch.
What about you, And? What coaches, managers have stood out for you?
I think you just named some of them. Mancini, for how fit he's got his team. He's got them super motivated, super fully desired up to win a tournament. He hasn't gone the superstar route. He's gone the players who deserve the place in that 26, and part of me is quite proud that they've won it with the lesser names in, which sometimes doesn't work, but it's worked for them. And Denmark have been through so much. Gareth, for me, he's massively impressed me. And you've got to look at the coaching staff that he's put together, by the way. Some of them, he brought Graham Jones in. Graham Jones has only been there for the duration of the tournament. So if this is a long-term venture and Graham's impressed that much, then for me, the group can only get better. With the coaches being in place for longer periods of time, the squad's going to get better. The players are going to have an easier way of understanding what the group wants and the coaches want. For me as well, I think Spain, Enrique has impressed me. Apart from his dress sense on the touchline was horrific. But
he's gone. That was sudden.
He had a good run there, 30 minutes.
I know, isn't it? That's probably the longest he's held on. But it's and I think he's right though about Enrique. The Spanish team to not select any Real Madrid players was a big risk, and I think it was. I think that he was justified in that risk of not taking those players, because Spain, I thought, did very, very well. It was a good run, and you had 30 minutes with no problems, but you just disappeared suddenly.
It was all right. No, sorry, Enrique. Apart from his dress sense, he looks like one of your mates who's just going down the boozer. But he's listen, the way that he's got his young players playing, and the way that he's got his players wanting to play for him again, I think is just phenomenal. I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with next year in the World Cup, in 4 years or 3 years time in the Euros. Spain will be up there now for the long term, I think, because of just the way they play and the way that those players are just born to play football and get on the ball. Technically, they're excellent. I'd like to say Holland, but defensively they're all over the place. But you stick Van Dijk in that team. Will he make a massive difference? Yeah. Because offensively they're excellent. Just defensively they let themselves down in the big moments of this tournament. But I would like to see them with him in that tournament. If it would have made a massive impact. But listen, there's loads of countries who probably overachieved a little bit. Shevchenko, you know what I mean? He's had a wonderful tournament in terms of where he
Robert
is. But
Page, mate, Robert Page, the situation he was in, he was thrown in and he did what he did. He did the best he could at the end of the day, and I think he deserves credit for the way he conducted himself.
You've got people like Hungary, a Hungary manager, North Macedonia didn't embarrass themselves. You know what I mean? You can probably look at the people who've let themselves down a little bit, who underachieved. France underachieved. Belgium probably underachieved with the players they've got at their disposal. You know what I mean? They've got this quarter-final voodoo going on, but no, I think England will always be up there with what's gone on. You know what I mean? Yes, there's people who will give him criticism because they didn't win the game, but he was a small margin away from being a hero for the rest of his life.
Absolutely, mate. So we're gonna all each give our team of the tournaments in a minute. But what I want you to do, each of you now, and I will a little bit, is I want you to talk about the players who didn't get in your team. So without giving away who's in your team, talk about some of the players who came. I know it's convoluted, but just talk about some of the players who, like, you nearly got in your team, basically, just to see, honourable mentions, I suppose, is the way to put it. Because it was difficult to pick. There were some players who I wanted in there and I just didn't have room for. So, it is what it is. But who didn't make your team, I suppose, who impressed you? And you go first, mate.
I'll start with a couple of centre forwards that, Harry Kane. Listen, Harry could have finished top goal scorer in the tournament, but he let himself down in the first 3 games. So for me, it's about a tournament as a whole. He didn't start until the last 16. So I don't see how anyone can be in a player of the tournament if you don't perform for the full tournament. Lukaku, I was desperate to find a place for him, but for me, he just didn't do enough and didn't he didn't do enough in the final stages of the tournament to get his team in the next rounds. You know what I mean? For me, so it's like I would love to get him in because every time he's on the ball or every time he's in those areas, he seems to do well and seems to score goals. But the players that I've picked in those areas will probably explain why those kind of guys haven't got in. I guess.
Anyone, Rhodri, who didn't get in your team, who you was finding it difficult not to put in?
Harry Maguire, John Stones. With the 2 Italian, you can't look past them really. As a partnership, you want your a good partnership, and you can't really get a better partnership than them two. No. So Mihail, whatever his name is, right
from
back.
Denmark,
He did okay. And probably Granit Xhaka,
Yeah, he surprised me. He did. I've never really rated him that much, but I thought he had a sensational tournament. So for me, Jordan Pickford, mate. I said at the start of the tournament I had reservations about him, but we said after the group stage he was outstanding. He looked a different player for England than he does for Everton. He had a little wobble against Denmark, but in that final last night, he kept England in it in the 90 minutes.
Yeah, he's phenomenal.
And then made some sensational saves in the penalty shootout. So he's very unlucky to not get in. Maybe I'm being a bit biased, but I also thought Danny Ward for Wales in goal was outstanding. But there's other goalkeepers who got further who did outstanding for longer periods. I think Jordan Pickford won the Golden Glove as well, didn't he? Kiefer Moore was good as well for Wales. I thought both of those players deserve a bit of a shout. They were never kind of get in my team of the tournament because they didn't get sort of far enough in. Who else was there? There was Spinazzola. Spinazzola's not in my tournament. In my team.
Yeah. Schick from Czech Republic, who finished off joint top goal scorer with Ronaldo. He hasn't made mine. I agree with what Rhodri says about the two England centre halves. I thought being excellent. I mean, Harry as well. You've got to look at Harry Maguire and look what he's done at the end of the season. Absolutely nothing in terms of he's had a really serious injury, and then all of a sudden he's playing in a world tournament and he's playing so well without even a blink of an eye. It just shows the testament and how good the boy is, really. You know what I mean? Just shows the quality he's got. You know what I mean? To come from nothing to play in a tournament like that, and to not lose any minutes or anything. He's just a phenomenal professional.
Absolutely, mate. So another player who didn't get in my side was Damsgaard of Denmark, but I would probably have given him the young player of the tournament. I thought he really did himself. I don't know how to describe it, but he made a bit of a name for himself in this tournament. I thought he was absolutely sensational in pretty much every game. Another Swiss player, and Will's just said in the chat there, who did very well was Shaqiri. Another one who I'm not a massive fan of in terms of I think he underperforms for the talent he's got, but he was sensational. Holberg and there was a few who did really, really well. Right.
Do you not think a few of these players have put a lot of pressure on themselves next season because they've played so well in the tournament? They probably won't get a move in the summer because clubs will want too much money. So they've got to go back to Arsenal, for example, Liverpool. And the pressure's there for them to go and play well straight away because Shaqiri, yes, he's gonna struggle to get game time because the players ahead of him, but Shaqiri should walk in that Arsenal team the way that they play, you know what I mean? Because he should be able to protect and sit and hold and get the ball to the Saka, get the ball to the Aubameyang, get the ball to other players. So, you know what I mean? He should be playing a pivotal role this year in Arsenal's defensive midfield position.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Well, there's a question there from Reese. He says, why did some of these players perform better for their countries than they do at club level? Whether, Shaqiri, you could point to Xhaka, you could probably point to Pogba as well. He does a lot better for France on the whole. Why do you think, not in necessarily any individuals, but just generally, there's even Pickford, these guys, they do so much better at international level than they at their clubs. They do not look always the same players. Why is that?
I'll probably use Pickford as an example then, that Pickford's playing with better players. So Pickford's got better players in front of him, so it'll raise his confidence levels. He's training at a higher standard. He's playing with better footballers, so he's getting better passes back. He's working with better players who have his understanding. Pogba one I probably don't get because Pogba's played with world-class players throughout his career. He's playing alongside Fernandes, for example, at United. He's played at Juventus. He's playing with France. He's won the World Cup. Sometimes it's just desire, isn't it? When people like Pogba, I probably look at it as he's done everything he needs to do in football. So it's having that own personal desire to want to go to that next level. And if you decide to turn it on and turn the tap on, it's going to flood. You know what I mean? So it's just having that personal desire.
Yeah, 100%. What do you think, Rhodri? We mentioned Xhaka and Shaqiri, two players who've done really well, but haven't maybe hit the high levels for their clubs.
Shaqiri seems to be the main man for Switzerland. He has been for quite a long time. Where Liverpool, he struggled to get a game. So that's probably with that reason. It's difficult to say. It's difficult. To say.
It's a weird one, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
Gareth Bale's the one as well.
He does well for his. He does well for his international team, but he doesn't always been able to produce that for Madrid or for Spurs. Be very interested. Sorry, your audio might go, mate. If you've had a phone call, it should be. If it does, you'll have to go out and in. For us all. Right, and just while we wait for Rhodri to come back, who is your player of the tournament?
My player of the tournament is Simon Krejci from Denmark, and the reason why he's got my player of the tournament is what he's done. As in, he saved a person's life. So I think life's more important than football. And for that reason alone, he won the tournament because I thought about it. I thought long and hard about about who I could
That's sensational. I like that a lot
on the pitch. But I just thought, listen. And I thought about it last night after the game that the people sending me messages of unlucky England, blah blah. It's not, football's not life and death. It's just a game. You know what? That moment, and those words stuck with me. So I just thought, you know what? For me, it has to be my player of the tournament for those reasons and those reasons alone.
I like that. So I don't know if you heard that then, Rhodri. Andy's player of the tournament was Kajar of Denmark, because obviously he saved Christian Eriksen's life with some of his actions. Who was your player of the tournament, mate?
Oh,
it's difficult, isn't it, to pick one?
Yeah.
And normally your player of the tournament doesn't always get in your 11, which I know sounds really stupid, but it's like someone who stands out for various reasons.
I think one that's impressed me and got better, obviously, probably because he's not played at the start, would be Chiesa.
Yes.
But it's a difficult one, that, because like no one's really stood out.
So
did you agree? Did you agree yesterday then, Si? Did you, Rhodri? Did you agree yesterday that Donnarumma got obviously play the tournament? Was he that good? Did he deserve it?
In my opinion,
that's the point. It's probably no one that stuck out that much.
Yeah, well,
because if he's played the tournament, why has he not got? If Jordan Pickford's won the other award, surely he'd win both awards.
Yeah.
Well, exactly that. It's a weird one, isn't it?
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. Because I thought he got man of the match. That's what I thought. I thought when he went up to get his award, I thought it was man of the match because I thought he just saved a few penalties. He's had a decent game. He's pulled out all the crosses. He's been very stable at the back. And then when I seen it play the tournament, I thought I'm not really sure I agree with that.
He's not even got the player.
I suppose his opinion.
He's not got even the player.
I know.
No, so it doesn't make sense.
It's mad, isn't it?
He's
madness.
He's also possibly up for sale this summer as well, which is remarkable because I think he's out of contract next year, or he might even be out of contract now.
Yeah, I think he's going to leave this.
He's signed for PSG. He signed for PSG.
He did sign for him, did he? How much did he go for?
He signed a pre-contract agreement. He's free transfer.
Are we talking the keeper here?
Yeah, Donnarumma.
Yeah,
I didn't know he had signed. I knew he was a free agent.
I think it's a pre-contract. He turned down a new deal at AC Milan, so they just released him straight away out of his contract.
Tell you that is a massive signing for PSG. I think because I said before
he'd leave Italy.
Well, he's so young as well. And in my opinion, he's probably the best goalkeeper in Europe anyway. And he's like 21, so to get him on a free. And they've just obviously signed Sergio Ramos, and they're talking to Rafael Varane as well, who's obviously in talks for United as well. But I mean, be interesting if PSG can get past that we talked about mental blocks. They've got the same mental block that Belgium have got with international football. That they've got that same mental block in the Champions League. So you're bringing in a Donnarumma and a Sergio Ramos and whoever else they bring in. It'd be interesting if they can get past that mental block coming into the season.
They had a decent keeper, by the way. They had Navas from Real Madrid, so they had a decent keeper. So it's quite greedy. Quite greedy, if you ask me.
Mad, isn't it? Well, I mean, I couldn't comment. So, in terms of my player of the tournament, I found it really difficult. Luke Shaw is in my top 3, 100%. I think he's had every single game has been at least an 8 out of 10. And some of them have been higher. Jorginho of Italy, I think, has been sensational. One of the players, Verratti as well for Italy, I think he's like one of those unsung heroes or something. Like no one seems to mention him. He always goes off after about an hour to 75 minutes, but he really makes them tick in that early part of the game, particularly. He impressed me a lot, but I think I probably would go with Luke Shaw. Sterling's up there as well. I've got to say, I thought Sterling had a fantastic tournament, but he's really good. Right, let's finish off with our teams of the tournament, and I'm sure the people in the chat will let us know if they agree or disagree. So I think the easiest way to do it is we'll all just give our goalkeeper and kind of go there. I don't know. Go on. Tell you what, Andy, you go name your team first, then Roger can do his, and then I'll do mine. Do it that way. Go on, Andy. Take us away.
Okay, Doc. Right, so Mike, I've gone my goalkeeper. I've gone for Donnarumma in goal. I think he's had an amazing tournament. I've gone for a back 4. I've mixed it up a little bit. So I've gone for Dumfries from Netherlands. I think he had a wonderful tournament. He's got a couple of goals as well from the right back area. So I like that. I've gone for Kyle Walker. His pace was just everything for me. He gets himself and others out of jail. Luke Shaw. I've also gone. So I've got three fullbacks, but I'm going to play Kyle Walker centre half next to Chiellini. I've gone for a bit of a bit of pace, just to try and mix it up a little bit. I've gone for 3 in midfield. I've gone for Verratti. I agree. I thought he's just an unsung hero. He does all the donkey work that nobody else wants to do. I've gone for Declan Rice because I thought yesterday in the final, I thought he was outstanding, absolutely outstanding. I thought he's had a very solid tournament considering the Saturday team he plays for, West Ham United. Not a household name. Yes, he's playing the Premier League, but I think it could be a move on the cards for him. I think, and then to complement those two, I've gone for Calvin Phillips because for me, Calvin has been the surprise and the shock of the tournament. The amount of running he does, the miles he goes through in the game, by the way, far more than anybody else in the England side. He's an absolute machine, and Leeds United will be very lucky if they keep hold of him, by the way, in the summer. I do hope he can progress on. I've gone for 3 attackers. I've gone for Cristiano Ronaldo. He obviously got a golden boot, so I couldn't leave him out. I've gone for Raheem Sterling. I think he had a very good tournament. Shame he couldn't finish off in the final. And Rhodri mentioned him a minute ago. I've gone for Chiesa as well because I thought he was absolutely world class. And am I correct to saying that Chiesa his dad used to play for Italy as well? Is that right?
I believe so. Yeah, I think he is. I think
if he's
he
half
is.
as good,
I'm sure.
If he's half as good as his dad, he's going to be a player. So you know what I mean, which is phenomenal. But yeah, I think I've gone for 4-3-3. A little bit of Gareth Southgate, 3 defensive midfielders, but I've got basically get the ball to the 3 front men and go and score goals.
Yeah, I've gone for the same formation, but not the same team. Rhodri, what's your team, mate?
Yeah, the keeper the same. Donnarumma, the right back, left back, Shaw, Walker. All the things Andy mentioned with Walker's pace and all the things you mentioned with Shaw that he's been brilliant from the start. The 2 centre halves that I mentioned, Bonucci and Chiellini. You know, you want a partnership, a top partnership, and
yeah.
They don't really come with as much experience and good as them two. Then it was a difficult one. It was which one do I pick out of Rice and Phillips? And you have to have Phillips. You know, last year playing a championship, the amount of miles that he runs. So I went with Phillips. That was a tough one, that though. But then you got Jorginho next to him. Yeah, you've got to go with him. He's had a really good tournament as well, even though I agree with you, he should have been sent off yesterday. But yeah, he's been brilliant for Italy. The glue for Italy, I would say. And then I've gone for Sterling, Dolberg, Chiesa, and Ronaldo up front.
Nice, like it. Interesting. I've gone like 3 at the back. I've gone Donnarumma in goal. I've gone Maguire, Chiellini, and Bonucci as my 3. I've gone Luke Shaw one side. I've put Spinazzola on the other side. I know he's a left back, but he's playing right back because he's been that good. He's in my team. And I was not going to have Luke Shaw in there. I think they both deserve that. Midfield, I found a bit tricky because I kind of wanted to put Paul Pogba in there because I thought he was the one. Him and Benzema were the 2 players who stood out for France. And I thought Pogba really turned up. He was let down perhaps by some teammates and stuff. But I had to have Calvin Phillips in there. I just think for someone who was relatively unknown to have the tournament that he's just had, you know, and the pressure which comes with it, I think he's got to be in there. So I've got Calvin Phillips, and then I've got Pedri of Spain. And then I've got a 3 up front of Sterling, Stick of Austria, and then I couldn't decide between Benzema, Insigne, or Ronaldo, so I'm going to pick Ronaldo. Yeah, I think you can't leave him out. He's golden boot. Got to be in there. So that was my team. It is hard, isn't it? Because there's players.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah.
If you were doing a squad and you had subs and stuff, there's players in there who would get in there. I also thought Griezmann had a relatively good tournament. Rhodri, who had the better TV coverage, BBC or ITV?
Well, I watched it on BBC, but the best is Clive Jones throughout. without doubt.
Yeah, it's so weird to me
ITV's
that
commentary is by far Jennis.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do these commentators. Some of them don't do no research whatsoever. They're lazy in the performance, and so you can tell the lazy ones because they don't know nothing. But to answer your question, I would say ITV, because even though I watched it on BBC One, just watched it on BBC One because it does make with the adverts. That's all.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't that?
But if I would have realised Roy Keane was on there, I probably would have watched it because Alan Shearer was on BBC One. So
I think ITV's got better pundits than the
ITV
BBC.
by far got better pundits, but 100% by far. Sorry. Yeah, ITV to answer your question.
Yeah, I think it's weird to me that they've relegated Clive Tilsley to like second string. Like Sam Matterface gets all the main games as the commentator. Like, to me, Clive Tilsley is the best commentator available. Now
The older ones are always the better because they've got the experience.
So weird to me,
they've done it for years. Yeah, Sam Matterface is good, but he's young. He's got I agree with you.
What about you, Andy?
I did a bit
BBC
of
or ITV?
You were just on about Clive Tilsley there. I did a bit of work with Clive for that Cardiff City game. He's been doing a bit of freelance work, and he did a little bit of a write up for every game. I'll bring it on one of the shows and show you what he did for me. And he's selling them on, but it's just his detail, what he goes into for his games, his commentary is just second to none. It's absolutely amazing. For me, ITV's better, but not for England games. And the reason why is the Gary Lineker, the Alan Shearer, the Rio Ferdinand, and the Frank Lampard. They've all been there. They've all done it. They've all wore the T-shirt. So yesterday I decided I'd watch most games on ITV, but I watched the England games on BBC because of the experiences that they've got. You know what I mean? And they're very honest and humble with the fact that, you know what I mean. Listen, yesterday there's nearly 1,000 caps between them. You know what I mean? And goals and experiences across the globe, but they were all very honest about, you know what I mean, we've never been in this situation. You know what I mean? We should have been. We've all underachieved, but we haven't. You know what I mean? So they're just very humble with it all. I thought it was great. But, for me, ITV's better. But for England games, I think with the experiences that they've got, you know what I mean? I don't want to listen to Roy Keane slagging off an England player because he doesn't like the way that he moves around in goal, Daniel Jordan Pickford. I want to hear Ferdinand slagging him off for a real reason, for not doing it for his country. You know what I mean? I just think sometimes for club, I'm all for Roy Keane doing it, and I'm all for other people. But for your country, I want to hear Roy Keane saying that about Shea Given and other Irish players. You know what I mean? Because I think international football is so different. But ITV, I think they've had some wonderful people. Gary Neville, and I think the Welsh boys did a good job as well. By the way, Joe Ledley, Robert Earnshaw, who else? Robson Carnew. I thought they were brilliant.
Ashley Williams was pretty good as well. Do you know what I read? There was an article in I think it was either the Independent or the Telegraph today, and it was something like the good, the bad, and the ugly of the tournament. And the guy who wrote it is an English journalist, and he said that the coverage of BBC's Welsh coverage was so one-sided, and he was like really going to town on Gabby Yorath and Robbie Savage, and because they had an all-Welsh panel and this and that. And I was like, that really annoyed me, because I don't know how you could say that with a straight face after the way both channels celebrated England reaching the final, because there was no like independence. They, and then they're all English. I get it. It's fine. It's the same when Wales beat Belgium. Robbie Savage was on commentary going out of his mind because it was amazing. I get that. But this article just rubbed me up the wrong way, because I think if you're going to criticise the BBC's Welsh coverage for that, you have to acknowledge that the English coverage was exactly the same. You can't pick and choose one. And I also think that BBC generally needs to take a look at the way they cover football. Generally, I kind of would like it to be a bit more impartial for all the home nations, and actually look at the teams which are, playing and assess them. There was a lot of kind of almost cheerleading from the BBC for all the home nations, and I kind of didn't like that. I'd rather have a bit of independence and hear about their experiences. And like you said, like when you got people who've been there and done it, like whether it was for Wales, you got like Ashley Williams, who played in that Belgium game and played for Wales at the Euros.
Yeah.
Like, let's kind of hear about those experiences from all those different amazing pundits on the two channels, instead of the kind of celebration. And I don't know, I just didn't rub me up the wrong way.
I found it strange yesterday. You know what I mean? Jurgen Klinsmann. You know what I mean? If Germany were in the final yesterday, I'm all for Jurgen being on the touchline. You know what I mean? And given his experience, yes, he's won the tournament and he's been a world class footballer. But I'd have loved to seen Gianfranco Zola stood on the touchline and given his experience about scoring at Wembley and having the battles with the guys in England set up and his experiences in playing in the Premier League and just the English fans, and he can relate to it and it's a relatable context. I just think sometimes we miss a trick a little bit, you know what I mean, in terms of that. But yeah, listen, if you're watching a Welsh game, you want someone who's been there. You don't want someone who's just talking about it and, like Rhodri says, who hasn't done the homework, because it stands out like a sore thumb. You know what I mean?
It's nothing worse.
I think it's embarrassing. It's cringeworthy because you know the answers and you know that they're talking rubbish because they get themselves caught up in a muddle and in a mess. And do you know what I mean?
I'll tell you what.
I'll probably back up what Rhodri said about Jermaine Genius. You know what I mean? He just looks like he runs out of things to say, and he always gets saved by his co-commentator who takes over all the time, and that shouldn't happen. He should have loads to say. You know what I mean? Listen, it's not like England are 4-0 up and he's gobsmacked. He doesn't know what to talk about. You know what I mean? There's what's going on the pitch. Talk about him. Talk about the players. You know what I mean? Talk about something. You know what I mean? You've got to give your input of what's going on, because if it's a radio, how do you visualize what's going on?
Yeah, of course. And I think that, of course, when you've got a tournament like this, you're going to have like the second and third string commentators doing certain games at the earlier stages of the tournament. I do understand that. But too many times in this tournament, I found myself watching games and I would sort of think to myself, or I'd say to my missus or my father-in-law or my son, or that player's done this in his career, or he's done that, or they should do this, or Italy are doing this. And then like 10 minutes later, the commentator would do it or say it. And I just thought they just seemed so ill prepared. And some of them just didn't seem to know what they were talking about. And that's a problem when, like you said, and if you're in a situation where if you're listening on the radio or you can't see a TV and you're depending on those commentators to describe the game to you and what's going on, commentators not knowing what they're talking about is a big problem.
Yeah.
But let's not finish on a negative. I thought, look, tournament was fantastic. I really, really enjoyed doing 3 shows a week. I appreciate, obviously, of course, all the people who've tuned in and got involved in the conversation with us, all the people who've downloaded the audio. It's awesome. Andy, of course, I appreciate you, mate, joining me 3 times a week. But even more so, I appreciate Rhodri Giggs and, of course, David Giles for joining us for so many of the shows. But Rhodri, it's been a pleasure, mate, to have you over the last few weeks. Really appreciate your time.
No, yeah, I've enjoyed it.
And hopefully it won't be the last time we see you on the channel and the show and stuff. Sure, you'll.
No, I'll second that, Rhodri. I think absolutely phenomenal. Your insight in football is fantastic. Both you and Giles have lit it up, mate. It's good to have someone with the knowledge of being there, wore the t-shirt, played football, you know what I mean, and just a passion for it, you know what I mean, because I've said this all along, all the shows that we've done, so I haven't shows that you're passionate about your country, you know what I mean, and you've also got an insight into English football as well, and it's so evident to see and hear because of the way that you talk about, which is great. So really appreciate your efforts and your time. It's fabulous.
No, yeah, thanks. It's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed it. No, can't wait to come back on.
Top man. Guys, thank you very much. Don't forget to spread the word, to tell the people. But next Monday, the Andy Campbell Football Show returns for Series 2 with an all-new guest. The guest is booked, and we are a go. We're back to the normal time of 7:30, finish at 9, but then do 10 minutes extra as you ask so many questions, which is always fun. But looking forward to getting back to normal. And I'm also looking forward to having the next 5 or 6 days of no podcasting whatsoever, because I've been a busy boy. The next time you will see me is on Sunday night, 8 o'clock live for the Danny Batten Fight Show. So please do join us. We'll have another guest from the fight world there. And me and Andy will be back next Monday with our guest. Andy, we're going to announce the guest tonight, or leave it a couple of days, let it marinate, and go from there.
Oh no, why not? Why not? While we're here,
Cool.
confirmed today. So it's ex-teammate of mine, ex-Sheffield United, Birmingham City winger, Paul Devlin, ex-Scottish international as well. So apologies, Dev. Paul Devlin, excellent, great crack, good lad, Brummy, got loads to say, loads of stories. Has scored a penalty in a cup final as well, so you might have a few stories to tell about what we've been talking about. So yeah, it'll be a great guest with a few stories to tell.
Excellent. Looking forward to that already, mate. And of course, guys, you can check out all our previous shows at the YouTube channel. If you're lazy and you don't want to scroll through all the different shows we do, go to playlist, go to Ace, I think it's called Footy Guests or AC Footy Show Guests. They're all there. And of course, we have had England coach Graham Jones on. We've had current footballers on. We've had Emil Heskey, all sorts of different footballers, Danny Gabardon, international footballers, all different footballers from different eras. Join us next Monday, 7:30. But Rhodri, Andy, it's been a pleasure. Cheers, guys. And cheers to everyone. Laters.
Cheers, guys.
We are the ones who mark a new beginning.